And we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wellbeing Talks. Hello to the replay viewers. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you're watching this show. My name is Gabriela. I'm a wellbeing author and blogger at shinelikeapearl.com, and this is the Wellbeing Talks. And today we're interviewing life coach and author Darren Horne about the importance of controlling our emotions. Darren, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, as you said, I'm Darren, and this idea, it's tricky to control emotions, but this idea of certainly managing my emotions came up or became a challenge when I had my daughter 18 months ago, and I was diagnosed with postnatal depression, which made me realize I'd had depression and anxiety most of my life. So it became vitally important. Suddenly the time frame was more important of being able to manage my emotions and be a positive role model and father, rather than getting pulled down by depression, which is like the worst fight of your life.
Yeah, exactly. And once you become a parent, you're really responsible because they're watching everything you do, and you need to show a good example, right?
As much as we love them, they are there to test your relationship to breaking point. So
I agree. So controlling our emotions, I think this is an area that a lot of people struggle with at times. You know, we all have difficulties in life, and there are easier times and more difficult times. How did it come to you? How did you develop this ability to regulate or control your emotions when the situation, when you need to?
Well, to start with, about 6 years ago, I started doing a martial arts that was very heavily focused on mindfulness and monitoring and managing your emotions. So in terms of self-defense, if I'm, for example, sparring somebody and my thoughts are in the future, then in the present, I'm being punched. And if my thoughts are in the past, in the present, I'm being punched. And if I got emotionally involved in what was happening to me, like whether I was punched or whether I thought the other guy went too hard or getting angry at my own performance, my performance dropped. So in order to be good as a not just as a martial artist, but in order to be good at anything that you're doing, whether it's cooking, rocking your baby to sleep, building a bookcase, playing a computer game, emotions are the enemy. They will impact you dramatically. So I was always working on doing it in sparring. We call it mindfulness in action, because it seems a little bit silly to me to like go sit on a beach with a drink and relax and be mindful when you need to be mindful when you're actually in like the chaos of life, when there's people yelling at you and traffic's bad and stuff. So I was getting the hang of it then, and I'd have lots of conversations along that route with my father, who's a neuro-linguistic programming trainer, and he'd been doing it for many years to get to that level, and I'd always just not really paid attention. But he kept saying to me, "You're doing what I know as NLP, you're doing NLP." So while I was deep into the postnatal depression, he basically said, look, go do an NLP course, go become a practitioner. I genuinely think it will help you. And I did. I went away for like an 8-day intensive, and I did all these exercises and learned all these techniques. And it just took my ability to manage my emotions to a much, much higher level. And now I'm happier than I've ever been because of that.
That's excellent. So NLP is pretty much the way we talk to ourselves, right? If you have to sum it up in a sentence, neuro-linguistic programming is the way you talk to yourself in a situation where things are a bit out of your control.
Yeah, and it's certainly an element of it. It's certainly the language you use when you talk to yourself, but also when you talk to others, and picking up when people use language to you. So a small thing would be, people might say, my wife does this a lot, but she'll say, oh, our daughter always wakes up through the night when it's my shift. And I'm like, always? Like when she's saying always, it becomes a really heavy, like hard feeling. And I have students, I'm a teacher, I'm a media teacher as well. And they'll say, oh, I always mess up on presentations, or I can't do that, or I hate doing that. And it's every time you say, like, you have to think of it as a line of code, and you're programming your computer with this. So every time you say, oh, I can't do that, your brain is like, good, I've got it, got the message, we won't be doing that. So when you try, you fail. So, I mean, if you're going to say I can't do that yet. because you can do anything any other human being has ever done, you can do. You just need to believe in yourself. So it's definitely the language you use to program yourself. But it's not just language, it's also images that you might use. And it's about being curious about the world and trying to be your most excellent self at all times. So just as a quick another point, if you think of the timeline of your life, so the 40 years I've been on the planet, there was a point where I was just on fire, where I just felt like Tony Stark as Iron Man, where I just thought I nailed today. Now, what was it about that day that made that day perfect? And if I can do it on that day, I can do it every single day. So you just have to work out what it was. Was it what you ate? Was it what you were wearing? Was it, did you meditate? Did you prepare in any way? What your thought process like? Who were you hanging out with on that day? And you work out what the environment needs to be and what the language you use needs to be in order for you to absolutely smash life. And the aim is to do that every day. I can't do it every day, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, you can still aim for it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the fun. It's, you aim for not quite perfection, but you aim for it. Because life's going to keep throwing challenges at you. And as we get older, it seems, the challenges get even harder. So you have to keep developing.
I agree. Absolutely. So the thought process is very important, right?
Yeah.
Say someone is experiencing intense anger or anxiety, and kind of the emotions are running away with them. What is it that they could do to calm down and gain some level of control back?
The thing is, the number one thing is always breathe. And there's different breathing techniques you can do. You can kind of Google them. Some people believe in like 6 seconds in, 4 seconds out, or whatever it is. The most important thing is to breathe. But you won't remember how to breathe because particularly anger doesn't want you to breathe. It wants you to get all red in the face and angry. So you need things around you that are going to remind you to do it. You need allies, you need strength. So it could be little things like the things you read, the posters you have on the wall, the ringtone on your phone. All these things can remind you of the person that you're trying to be. Like I read a lot of stories about samurais just because it's an interest. And there's a guy called Miyamoto Musashi who won loads of sword duels just by messing with his opponent. Like he saw his job was to mess with them. So he'd turn up for duels with like a wooden sword, and the other samurai would be so offended they would get angry and attack and lose. So that's just just an example of I program my brain to know that I cannot perform at my best when I'm emotional, and I surround myself with role models, whether it's successful people in real life who become successful. For example, Tony Robbins is a good example, or from history or from literature, or even from movies. What would Spock in Star Trek do? We can see that the ones who can stay calm under pressure can achieve more. So anger is breathing. There's a couple of other things to it. Being aware that the other person who has angered you may not have intended to do it, and if they did, why are you letting them win? It's like their intentions to anger you. Try and control it. With the anxiety, that's a trickier one, but that requires a bit more practice. As I would talk about visualization with that. So you just kind of prepare, you picture yourself. You can have it again, anchors. There's a huge subject, but I'll quickly give one. So you can do these things called physical anchors. So I could sit here now and picture me at my absolute best. I can picture a time when I was amazing, and I would go deep into it, really like full all around me, sensorama, really feeling every sensation and smelling the sensation. And then I would just do a physical cue. So my one was a shoulder roll. So I just go like this. Even then, it's like electricity just ran through me. I was facilitated through that by like another NLP practitioner, actually a trainer. So now whenever I'm feeling not at my best or not confident or something that I think is going to overwhelm me, I just do that shoulder roll, and I genuinely feel better. And other people might have other things. But again, anchors could be anything. It could be a gift that your loved one gave you that symbolizes their belief in you. Yeah, I know that rambled, but is that okay?
I really like the shoulder roll example because that's something that you can do in any situation. You can do it sitting on a train. You can do it even when you're doing a presentation. You can do it kind of inconspicuously, so
Exactly.
it's not obvious. How do
Absolutely.
you, how do you train your brain? How do you link the shoulder roll with the calming? Can you just elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, so I was taken through it by an NLP trainer. So she basically sat next to me just outside. I think I probably closed my eyes, and she was like, "When were you at your most confident in recent history, and what was it?" And talk about it. And I had to talk about it. And weirdly, it was just, I don't know why I felt great, but I was walking through a train station. So I was like, "Well, okay, I'm walking through a train station." She's like, "Okay, what are you wearing?" I was like, "I'm wearing these boots. I'm wearing these jeans. I've got this bag in my right hand." And she was like, "Okay, what's around you?" And I was describing the station. And she's like, "What's going on with you?" And I'm like, "I'm happy, I'm breathing." And I'm like, "Oh," and she's like, "How tall are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm 8 foot." And then when she asked later, I was like, "Actually, I'm a giant. I'm stepping over the trains, and nothing can stop me." And it just went more and more into detail of me being like a titan or a god. The more I focused on the confidence I felt, the more it became everything. And then she said, "Okay, now roll your shoulders." And then I rolled my shoulders. And we just did it. I think we did it 3 times. And then it embedded itself. So, but I have to top it up every now and again. So, like, it was nice doing this just now, but like if I'm driving in the car and I'm heading somewhere, I'll just go back into a really confident memory, and I see like the shoulder roll as a tin or a jar with fuel in, and I don't want to overuse it, so I've got to top it back up with confidence again. But it certainly works for me. But I'm a natural with NLP, because, like I said, I was kind of doing it anyway before I knew that's what it was. And it is just an umbrella term for so many techniques. Like, some people might know some of it under cognitive behavior therapy. Some people just know it from like life coaching or life hacks. But that's a good one. Other people, it doesn't have to be a shoulder roll. The one I was suggested was just to pinch my fingers together, but I didn't really like that. Didn't like that at all. I think because I also need to do it in sparring, and if I've got boxing gloves on, I can't really do that. Whereas I can roll my shoulders.
That's true. So people can experiment, and whichever they find most comfortable, and whichever they find they can do in the situation where they most likely need to use it, that's what they can go with, right?
That's it. I got, when we said we were going to talk about NLP, I only became a practitioner in November, and I'm certainly not the most experienced person with it. But what I've learned with NLP is, once you take it on, so my NLP is my NLP, and I can talk about that with confidence. And everyone's going to have their own version of it, because you will have, again, your own map of the world. So do whatever works for you. And the other thing is, not everything has to be true all the time. Everyone wants like everything's set in stone. So, for example, another technique I would do is, sometimes you guys don't exist. Like, this is my TV show. I'm the only one alive. When I walk out this door, the world generates. Like, my wife has left to visit someone. She now doesn't exist. Like, everything's gone. The only thing that exists is what I can see, and I'm like the most important person in the whole universe. That sometimes makes me feel good. Other times I need to do the reverse and be like, the universe is massive. I'm an insignificant speck. What happens to me is meaningless. My anger, my worries, my stresses don't matter at all in the scheme of things. Now, I use whatever one of those I need to make me happy in the moment, or help me to manage my emotions, or help me do a presentation. It doesn't matter. Not everything has to be true all the time. And you can have conflicting...
As long as it works, that's the most important thing.
Right, exactly. And an example I give a lot is, and it doesn't matter how silly it is. Like, an example I give a lot is, my daughter, when she started to walk around, she would grab my hand and like, lead me out the room, and we'd go into a dark corridor. And one time she paused and looked into the dark and wasn't happy. Then she ran back into the living room. She had a couple of balls on the floor, and she sorted amongst them and found the purple one. And once she got the purple one, she sort of nodded. I was like, and then ran into the dark. And I was like, that's amazing. I wonder, what does that purple ball mean to her? Like, it's clearly a metaphor for something. And for her, that's all she needed for confidence. And I used to go, I did this before NLP. I used to manage a cinema that at night was just scary, like moving around it to close it down. Very dark, old cinema, probably haunted. And I used to just visualize 2 big, like Game of Thrones size wolves next to me. And so my brain is busy trying to keep these thought forms alive and prowling around the room for me. So my thoughts are thinking, is there ghost down there? Shuts down. So my brain's focusing on keeping these walls. And you feel strong if you've got two walls next to you. But that's what my teenage years. That's when I got into like Wicca and things, and I was looking at magic, which is life is, you know, life can be very varied.
But the lesson is very important. There are various ways and various techniques that you can use, and everybody will find whatever works best for them, and it's going to be different for different people.
Exactly right, and it doesn't matter how silly it is. Like, you know, you could use walls, but you could also. I went through a period of using Tinkerbell from Peter Pan. So Tinkerbell would just shoot off down corridors and then come back, and she'd just like talk like Tinkerbell, like, and then fly off again. Like it sounds dumb for me to say this out loud, but that worked for me, and it's consistency. But the problem is remembering to do it. So you need those things around you. You need to be reading or watching interviews like this or listening to podcasts. Like I'm a contributor for a podcast called LeadX, and a site, and they do a podcast every day, and I listen to it every day. And it's just life hacks and ways to succeed in life and be a leader. But I feel better when I consume things like that. Again, like I said, with the jar, with the shoulder roll, everything is like that. I need to continuously feed the positive. You've seen that thing on the internet, I'm sure, where I think it's like a Native American Indian tale where they say you've got like a big black wolf in your head and a big white wolf in your head. One's like hate and one's love. And the kid's like, which one will win? And it's like, whichever one you feed. You've got to keep feeding the white wolf, the love and the success and the self-belief that's in your body and in your mind. Got to keep feeding it daily. Otherwise, life, and you know, I'm a media lecturer, but life is designed to make you unhappy because they can sell you more stuff. It's like every day that TV and advertisements are trying to get you to also be emotional, because you can be manipulated when you're emotional. They can make you hate, you know, certain groups of the population because there's money in that, and you're easier to control. So if you keep, in terms of controlling emotion, that's the best, I think, motivator is you can be manipulated and taken advantage of if you become a slave to your emotions. So work at managing them, and you can let them come in. Like sometimes it's totally appropriate to feel anger, but you let it come in and you just think, am I going to let this now dictate my actions? And then you do what's right. Sometimes it's good to feel sad. Sometimes, you know, emotion is appropriate, but you make the decision to do it, to engage with it.
Yeah, sometimes it's useful. Anger can be a way to protect your family or to protect your interests, and that's useful for survival. It's essential, but the idea is not to let it rule you and not to experience it for a long time.
Yeah, and sometimes even having a good cry is entirely acceptable. You know, I certainly did that. I think it was this year or last year when I was really. I think weirdly coming out of the depression, it was like all of my emotions kicked in and I just cried for like 30 minutes and felt amazing afterwards. But, you know, I was alone in the kitchen. It didn't impact my life in any way.
I think crying is a real gift for humans. It's a fantastic outlet to get rid of anything that overwhelms us, and I find it very purifying. And I have a son, but I would never ever tell him that boys shouldn't cry, because I think that's a real gift. Crying, as long as you don't cry every day all the time, but
sure.
Again.
Yeah, I agree entirely. This whole thing that, you know, men don't cry, dumb. Which is why, and we're going slightly off topic, which is why men don't go and seek help for mental health issues enough, because we're just supposed to deal with it.
No. So how can people get in touch with you if they would like to work with you? Because you are a life coach as well, right?
Yeah, I specialize with teenagers, but I'm happy to coach anyone, really. Anyone who's basically not getting the most out of their life. I call it being the hero of your own journey. I've got a website, which is darrenhorne.com. You can contact me through there. But also I'm on every social media. Depending which one you try, is either Darren Horne or Darren Horne 77. But I'm on everywhere. I particularly am liking Snapchat right now, which is Darren Horne, Horne with an E. Get in contact. I'm even if you don't want coaching, just connect. And I'm just curious about everyone, and I'm interested what people's thoughts and techniques and ways they deal with life are.
Thank you very much for this interview, Darren, and thank you for all the amazing tips and techniques that you shared with us. I'm pretty sure that the viewers will find this very useful. And don't forget, if you have any questions, do get in touch with Darren
Yeah,
or send him a message, darrenhorne.com. We're going to put the link under this video so everybody can go and visit.
brilliant.
And thank you very much, Darren, for doing this interview.
Thank you for talking to me. It's been a pleasure. Loved it.
Thank you guys for watching. This was the Wellbeing Talks, and we will be back later. Just keep checking the Facebook page, and you will see us. And have an amazing day. Hope you like this interview. Thanks for being here. Bye bye. Did you tell me?